Thanks for staying with us. So the situation has become appalling, with drug-related cases becoming quite prominent. The most worrisome part is the situation among children, teenagers, irrespective of gender. So we'll be having later on the spokesman for the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Mr. Femi Babafemi. Dr. Yewande Oshodi is also the consultant psychiatrist and senior lecturer in the Department of Psychiatry in the Lagos University Teaching Hospital. We should be having them shortly in a moment. But in the meantime, I'd like to come to the ladies on this issue of drug abuse. Recently, quite a bit of videos have surfaced online. I mean, I know our producer has a video for us to see, just to demonstrate the fact that the drug abuse has actually is penetrated our society. In fact, in the papers today, there's a story that about 80 billion naira worth of drug were intercepted in 3 months since January today. So, and that is a startling figure. So now those pictures you're seeing, those videos you're seeing are videos of people who have ingested substances and they can't even feel pain, they can't feel hurt, you know? So all sorts of substances are going out there, and young people are engaging in these. We'll be having our guests in a moment to share views on how we can solve it. But let me just hear your initial thoughts before we bring in our guests. YK.
That's one they were beating. You're telling him to open his eyes. The one after him, that one opened his eyes and couldn't close them.
You for real? It is pathetic.
It is. I don't even understand what pleasure they get from being like that. You know, and you see, the thing is, the brain is a very delicate part of your body. And once you destroy it, it is difficult to... So what they're doing is long-term, is the danger that they're doing to themselves long-term. I wish there was a way we could engage the youth. It's not by fighting them or locking them up. It's not. It's communication.
Well, somebody will say that drug abuse is a symptom of other bigger issues. So when a child begins to do that, is a result of other things, that there are bigger issues, the frustrations the child is going through, to signify to adults around that, listen, there is a problem. But many of us overlook it and begin to chastise and reprimand them for doing something where we know there's a bigger issue behind. That's what we need experts on this.
In most cases with this, what is happening now is a result of peer pressure. The young people, it's peer pressure. It's just, I want to feel among. I want to be among the happening people. And media, music videos, celebrities have created a glam style around the use of drugs in such a way that you're portrayed as the happening person if you are high, or you seem to be an inspired version of yourself when you are high. And we have allowed this thing go on for so long, and that we're seeing the results now. Because at first it was people in their universities. Now secondary school children are becoming addicted. That's on one side.
So let me pause you for a second, because we expressed our views earlier, but now we have the spokesperson for the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency join us, Mr. Femi Babafemi. Let us hear the exact data on what we're dealing with. Mr. Babafemi, are you there? Hello, Mr. Babafemi. Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, I'm with you. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. All right, so I was saying earlier that your agency have actually intercepted 80 billion naira worth of drugs since January. Could you give us more data on the prevalence of drug abuse amongst young people in Nigeria?
Yeah, the data we have at the moment, I'll rely on that of the survey conducted by the National Bureau of Statistics in conjunction with UNODC, which was actually carried out in 2017 and released in 2018. Going by that data, we discovered that 14.3 million Nigerians are actually on drugs, and these are people between the ages of 15 and 64. And at the moment, we are we believe we cannot have less than 15 million Nigerians on drugs. And this is 3 times the global prevalence average, which is not acceptable. It is also projected that in another 30 years, if we don't do something drastic and to stop the trend, we'll probably be having another 15 million Nigerians added to that, and that will give us about 30 million Nigerians on drugs, which it's not too good. At the moment, we know we can see the impact, we can see the consequences of what we have at the moment, ranging from medical, psychological, socioeconomic problems, and now dovetailing into the security challenges we're having across the country, because it's now an evidence-based fact that there is a strong nexus between the level of insecurity we're having across the country and the problem of drug abuse all over the country. Whether you are talking of insurgency in the northeast, you are talking of banditry in the northwest, you're talking of kidnapping and what have you in the north central and all other parts of the country. All these have a basis or a nexus with the level of drug abuse we have in the country. And that's why we see there is a renewed effort within by the NDLEA, not only to enforce the law, that is intercepting, disrupting the supply chain, which we call drug supply reduction, but we're also trying to step up our efforts in drug demand reduction, which is the preventive measure. We're trying to mobilize everybody to get on board, to get involved in the fight so that we can prevent quite a number of other Nigerians, like about 185 million other people who are yet to fall into this ring.
Let me get a few more questions in for you.
Yeah.
Sir,
so, Mr. Babafemi, very interesting data you just shared with us, where you say that the age range for people who are drug users and abusers is between age 16 to 64. So people who are in their old age. So the reason why this is interesting is that many people think, oh, it's only young people take the drugs, and then maybe it's a habit that they can stop. Or these numbers of people in their old age, is this something they picked up in their old age, or is this a drug problem that they have carried on until their old age? Could you help us explain that and how it affects you in your youth and how it would affect you in your old age?
Yeah, they are interlinked. First, we have to, if you are talking of the youth, you are looking at quite a number of factors responsible for this. Some poor parenting, others loss of values at the community level. You have issues of peer, like I heard somebody talking about peer influence that is playing a major role at the moment. This culture of I want to belong. You know, a lot of our youths just want to do what others are doing because they see the trend as the new normal, while those that are not on drugs are seen as the abnormal, which in itself is an absurdity. So you also have when you also come to the adults, quite a number. I mean, there are quite a number of other issues ranging from socioeconomic pressure. You have a number of people who probably, because due to one problem or the other, they think by staying on drugs will give them some level of relief. And but then what we are trying to let them know is, yes, you may have some relief for a moment, probably for 10 minutes, for 30 minutes, for 1 hour. But after that, the problem still comes back. It doesn't solve the problem.
Right.
So that way they become addicted.
Right.
Because now when the drug wears out, they want to go back to it so that they get that relief also. But then we keep pushing it to them that this will not solve your problems.
Okay,
there are quite a number of other ways.
Right.
Mr. Babafemi, I want to ask a question in terms of dealing with another side of where this problem is coming from. Most of the time they say when you follow the funds, you can deal with it. A group of people are funding the drug culture in Nigeria. There's a channel with which it's coming through, and people are profiteering from it. So what is the NDLEA doing? Because I know you've found a lot of drugs. How has it been tracing who is funding, where is it coming from, and other countries where it's been imported from?
Yeah, we're dealing with that, where there are some countries we refer to as the source countries, where some of these things come from. Nigeria is developing a partnership and relationship with a number of them so that there will be collaboration. I can assure you that the NDLEA at the moment is enjoying that partnership and collaboration with our international partners and governments of other jurisdictions, and that is why there is nothing we're doing at the moment. Our operations are basically intelligence-based. You wonder why it's every day. If I continue to reel out statements on arrest every day, I'm sure the public, you get tired, and that's why we just do that, release that once in a while. But at the moment, I can tell you that almost every day we take people at the airports, at the land borders, and what have you, equally at the seaports. These are intelligence-based operations. It means we're getting information, we're exchanging information with partners, with international partners across the world, and that is why we're having the number of seizures. Right. Apart from that, we're also having quite a lot of inspiration from the leadership of the agency, which has really boosted the morale of the staff, because what you have at the moment is the same staff that have been in the agency for years that are doing what we're doing at the moment. So,
all right, let me get one more question for you.
Also tell you, okay.
Go ahead,
yeah, I wanted to ask, I know that we have a lot of tramadol, benylin, and all these medicines.
Pharmaceutical opioids.
Yeah, do we have cocaine and heroin? Is that prevalent in our society as well?
Yeah, we have that in circulation. Like I think yesterday I did release a statement where we made some recovery, interception, and seizure in Abuja of cocaine. One in particular was actually meant to be taken through our borders. I mean, this fellow was trying to travel from Abuja with about 900 grams of cocaine to Kano, from Kano to Niger Republic, from Niger Republic to Libya, and you know when it gets to Libya, it's meant for Europe. So then you have another seizure that has to do with 200 grams in Zuba area of Abuja, and some of these, and within Abuja, like in areas such as Abattoir, Karu Abattoir, the Tora Bora in the former SARS headquarters, Zone 4, Zone 5, we have some of these things, but then the agency has really done much in recent weeks to mop up and disrupt their operations. I can tell you today that the agency has established outposts in Zone 4, Zone 5 in Abuja. So these things are within, again, when you come to Lagos, you also find such things in areas like Lekki, VI, and what have you. So, and again, I also know that we're disrupting their operations in those areas, and we continue to do that. That is very critical. Right. Quite a number of arrangements are being deployed every day to respond to the trends and what is happening out there.
Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. We'll bring in other guests because we need to talk about the effects on the human system. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So joining the conversation now is Dr. Tunde Fadipe. He is a consultant neuropsychiatrist at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you.
For having me.
We'd like you to join the conversation, especially in the terms of the mental effects of drug abuse on young people. Could you help parents understand how this affects them and how it can impair their growth and development?
Right. Thank you very much. As we know, psychoactive substances are drugs that have an effect on the brain, and by that I mean that it would affect people's behavior, it would affect their way of thinking, it would affect their perception in terms of how they perceive things in the environment. And you specifically talked about young people with regards to their growth and development. So now we're talking about a drug that has effects on the brain, specifically a developing brain. And the effects are enormous, and affect children in several ways. One is that in the extreme case, maybe I should talk about how the use of drugs can progress, especially for young people. And so, for instance, many young people will start by experimenting, and then it progresses to a stage where they begin to use it more frequently, regularly. And it may progress to a stage that we describe as abuse, and to a stage where they become dependent on it. And at that stage, they basically need that substance to function, to engage in their day-to-day activities. And for us as professionals, we believe that people at that stage have a medical problem, because we believe that these drugs have a way of rewiring the brain such that people then need it to do things that they normally should do without these substances.
Right.
It's also important to note that these drugs can cause a number of neuropsychiatric problems, or even have a number of neuropsychiatric manifestations. I could see that in your introduction to this topic, you showed a number of videos. And many of these videos, which usually from time to time will go viral, it's young people who are acting strange or inappropriate ways. For us, we know that many of these young people are having strange experiences. Usually what is happening is that many of them are hallucinating. So you can imagine somebody who tells you that he was seeing the ghost of the late Abamieda, Bella Anikula Kokuti, communicating with him. If someone has that kind of experience, how do you expect them to respond? So these drugs have those kinds of effects. Some people, following prolonged use, may damage certain structures in their brain, especially alcohol in itself has that effect. Studies have shown that when young people use... Yes, please.
Okay, so doctor, there's the weed that a lot of young people start off with, and it's being sold and glamorized, and it said, oh, it doesn't have any effect. It's just, like it has even benefits to smoking it. And I've read other, like there's another school of thought that says it does affect the brain pathway in some way or the other from that point. So many people tend to start off with what they would say is really nothing, weed, and then they go to then they go to something higher than that. Or do you think that really weed is not a problem and we're just exaggerating what the symptoms and the effect is on a young mind, a young brain, developing brain?
Well, unfortunately, when it comes to use of weed, what we call, that is known by several other names, marijuana, cannabis, its use is controversial. And it's become more controversial because you hear arguments like it's been legalized in certain parts of the world, it's not a big deal. But one thing it's important to note, you started out by saying that young people say that it has benefits. It's true, yes, it may have benefits, but are there complications that may arise from this? Yes. And these are some of the things that I was talking about. The fact that young people who begin, and anybody who uses marijuana, because you specifically talked about marijuana, are at risk of developing neuropsychiatric complications. So if young people say that, yes, they use marijuana, it gives them ideas, it gives them confidence, they're able to engage their peers more and all that. Yes, true, it may have those benefits, but does it have downsides? Yes, it does.
just like every other drug anyway. All right, let me come to Stockway.
So we seem to have seen many people successfully live their lives, you know, especially within the entertainment industry where they glamorize it and they seem to have like inspiration and they seem to be achieving some level of success and, you know, especially within the music industry. Let me even just be more specific. So how do we now let children, our young ones, understand that it might inspire, but the side effects? Like, how do we create that balance? Because many artists will say that when they are under the effect of the substance, they get more inspiration. So how do we create that? Is it true that they get more inspiration? And how can people still feel inspired without relying on a substance?
Yeah, so, I mean, something that is used to sell of marijuana, we get a lot of these arguments that it helps you get ideas for people who are creatives. Sometimes they have a block, gives them ideas and all that. But there are those, and yes, it appears that some people may be functioning as at now on the medication. But what I tell people is that for a number of people, some people are able to get away with it. For some other people, it's just a matter of time. And if you speak with some of these people who are in the entertainment industry and they choose to be honest, they will tell you that they have peers, they have colleagues that have suffered from some of these implications. Now, when they use these drugs, these substances, whatever inspiration that they derive from it is temporary. It's temporary, such that after a while, the effects wear off. And then they need to take some more of these substances to get inspiration some other time. The other problem is that after a while, it gets to a point where the amount that they use does not provide or produce or give them the desired effects. And then they need to take more.
Right. Let me pause you for a second.
Continues like that. The other, yes.
Let me pause you for a second because we have a lot to cover today, and I think we've gotten the crux of this conversation. But I also want to go back to the spokesperson for the NDLEA for a moment. Mr. Femi Babafemi, are you still there?
Yes, I'm with you, please.
Recently, there was a bust. I think it was somebody who was selling cookies, I believe, or biscuits to minors. That was made with some of these substances. As somebody who is aware of what is going on in this area, could you give us some more information on the various things out there in the open that parents must be wary of? So people are selling biscuits to us. What else is out there that is being laced with these drugs? These are illicit drugs.
Yeah, let me take off from the particular case you mentioned. That was a lady in Abuja who, in conjunction with her boyfriend, so to say, they were producing these drug cookies, and they were not just selling to young people and other members of the public. They were also giving this thing free to some people, to unsuspecting members of the public, and that is to cultivate a new generation of addicts. Because if you are giving that, it works well for you. You want to desire it. You want to have more. And having more means increasing their sales, their market, their target audience. And the moment we got information on that, we have to move in quickly, because if we had not done that, we don't know how many of such will be in circulation at the moment. But beyond that, I know that just last weekend, the chairman of the agency, General Mara, did say in a statement that we're going to be going out to supermarket stores and some other sales outlets, confectionaries to check out, to look out for some of these things, and that I can assure you has started across all our states.
But why didn't you give us the name of the brand so we know? Why didn't you give us the name of the brand so we know?
Yeah, this one is you have some of these things produced as cookies. You have some of them produced as biscuits. You have some of them produced as cakes. You know, they come in these forms, in the regular form of what you know, of what you're already used to. But beyond the normal flour and some other unharmful, ingredients that are not harmful, you also have some other mixtures, like the Arizona variant of cannabis, like Rofinol, like codeine and what have you, mixed together. And when you take this, you are more. I heard it after the story of the drug cookies in Abuja came out. I have a personal friend who actually told me that he went for his company's party, end of the year party, and something like that. And there he was served cakes. They were served cakes cut into pieces, and it was only when he had a bite that he discovered that what he had eaten was not just ordinary cake, but something that started turning his eyes, his brain, and every part of his body, and he had to go on hospital admission before his life could be saved, because this thing may not work. It may work like Dr. Fadipe said. This thing may work well. May work fairly well for some people, but for a lot of others, it doesn't work for them.
All right, so let me go on a quick break on that.
This, my friend, reacted immediately.
Let me go on a break on that. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.